we're talking about the hardest part of opening an ARF. The parts that no one warns you about. The parts that almost made me quit. And the parts that taught me the most. Trust me, you'll want to hear it. Alright, so you've decided you wanted to open an ARF. Or at least you're entertaining the idea. You're Googling everything, you've read all the vague bullet points about licensing, and you're probably thinking, okay, how hard can it be? But let me be the first to tell you, opening an ARF is one of the most rewarding and one of the most humbling things you'll ever do. And today, we're getting into the side of the journey most people won't talk about, the messy middle, the part that doesn't make it into the glossy Instagram posts or surface level seminars. Let's start with the obvious, licensing. You hear people say, it's a process. Doesn't even do it justice. It's a maze. But that word, you'll get through one part and you think you're done, then another document shows up and another and another. You lose count of how many times you'd filled out the same address on 6 different forms. And what makes the process even more overwhelming? Sometimes the information isn't always clear or consistent. Once that might look different depending on who's guiding you. And you might find yourself thinking, is it just me? Or is it supposed to be this confusing? Spoiler alert, not just you. There were moments I sat on the floor with a stack of papers thinking, how is this even legal? How do people get through this? And that's exactly why so many people give up before they even finish the application. But here's what I've learned. Organization is your survival skill. You have to create your own systems. The licensing agency won't hold your hand, and then they're not supposed to. But if you build systems early on, you'll save yourself hours of headache later. Here's the part most people leave out, the emotional costs. When you're building an ARF, you're not just checking boxes. You're holding space for other people's future. That weight is heavy, especially in the beginning. There were nights I couldn't sleep, wondering if I was missing something in the application. Days when a single email from licensing would make my chest tight, not because I didn't care, but because I cared so much. And when people ask, what was the hardest part? I always say, it wasn't the paperwork, it was the pressure. Because once you realize this isn't just about you, once you realize you're building a home that could change someone's entire life, the stakes feel different. They feel personal. There's no HR department, no supervisor to vent to. You are the department. You're the dreamer, the planner, the problem solver, the hope carrier. And if you don't protect your mental health during the process, it'll burn you out before your first resident ever walks through the door. Here's another truth no one warned me about. It can feel incredibly lonely. You'll be doing something your friends don't understand. Your family might support you, but they don't get the details. They don't know what it's like to wait 3 months for an approval, only to be told you missed one sentence on page 42. You'll find yourself explaining what an ARF is over and over and still get blank stares. A moment when you start questioning yourself. Maybe this path isn't for me. But here's what I want to tell you. And I wish someone had told me this earlier. You're not alone. There are others building quietly, others who feel invisible while laying the groundwork for something incredible. That's why I'm making this podcast, because even if we don't see each other in the same room, I want you to know we're in this together. Yes, you're going to face resistance. And yes, there will be setbacks. But don't forget this. You're not just building a facility. You're building a place of safety, of structure, of dignity. You're creating something that will exist long after your paperwork is approved. You're giving someone a home. You're creating jobs. You're rewriting the standard of care for people who deserves more. And one day, you'll walk into that home you've built and realize you didn't just survive the hardest parts. You transformed because of them. So yes, the hardest parts are real, but you're built for it. And you don't have to figure it out alone. In episode 3, we're talking about something most people tiptoe around: money. If you're serious about doing this, you need to hear it. So go ahead, hit that next episode. And if this helped you, do me a favor. Subscribe, leave a review, and share this with someone who's on the path too. You don't have to build this alone. We're in this together. The real numbers behind owning an ARF, how much it costs, how much you can make, and how to make sure you're not just breaking even.